And you say, yes, but why? Why are prosperity statements so powerful? All right, it's an ancient teaching again. It's a universal law. The ancient people seem to intuitively know all of these great ideas. Now, they knew why statements, prosperity statements spoken can be so powerful, because they knew about the dynamics of sound. We call it vibration. They knew about the dynamics of sound. The ancient people knew that every spoken word has tremendous power, and by a certain arrangement of words, such as a prosperity statement, by speaking forth a certain arrangement of words over and over, such as in a prosperity statement, tremendous vibratory forces can be set up in the invisible that profoundly affect substance and produce results. We become kind of a broadcasting station, you see, for rich ideas and for rich results when we speak forth prosperous words. And so it is true. You can work wonders in your life by declaring prosperity statements out loud for even 5 minutes a day. A lady who went from rags to riches within 20 years said that this had been her method, that she had been widowed and left with children and so on to rear alone. And she went into business on a shoestring, and she did so by declaring prosperity and success every day. And she said that one time early when she was starting out, she desperately needed $100. That was a lot of money to her at that point. She needed $100. And so she walked the floor and declared prosperity statements. She did not know what else to do. And as she walked the floor and declared prosperity statements, her secretary opened a file drawer, file cabinet, and was looking for a particular file. And in that file cabinet, she just happened to find, stuck on the back of an old file folder, 5 old dirty $20 bills. And this lady said she had never done business like that. There wasn't any reason for 5 old dirty $20 bills to be in a file folder, but there they were anyway. It was one of those rather mysterious things. And she said that over the years she began to prosper as she continued to meet every need by first declaring prosperity statements. And she had some very practical demonstrations of prosperity, and she had some rather mystical ones too. But nevertheless, the idea worked for her. She went from rags to riches in 20 years. She retired at the age of 50. Now, at another period, much later, when her business had grown and she had prospered considerably, but she was still proving these ideas, one time in an attempt to meet a payroll for her employees, she began to declare prosperity affirmation. She had a big payroll to meet and did not have any ready cash. And so as she walked the floor again and declared prosperity statements, a stranger walked into her store, and he offered to buy a piece of property that he said she owned down the street. And she explained to him that she only wished she owned that piece of property because it was a very valuable piece of property. And he explained to her that she did own the property. She didn't believe him. She telephoned her lawyer, and her lawyer said, well, yes, as a matter of fact, you do own that piece of property. He said, your father, who was now deceased, left that piece of property for you as an investment, but didn't want you to know about it, and so I have been taking care of it all these years. But your father felt that someday you might need that piece of property, and he wanted you to have it as an investment or as security. And the lady said, well, yes, as a matter of fact, I do need that piece of property right now to sell. And so within a few hours from the time that she started declaring prosperity affirmations to meet the payroll, she sold a piece of property she didn't even know that morning she owned and met the payroll, and had money to spare. Now, the good thing about it is this: as we begin to declare prosperous words, we grow out of that strained vibration, that strange financial vibration where we have to speak prosperity statements for the next loaf of bread or the next pair of shoes or to meet the next stringent demand. We grow out of that, you see, into a world of greater abundance. But it's good to know that this is a technique that works for us. And people who use these ideas to prosper find that they have to continue using them to continue prospering. I've seen people use these methods and become prosperous and then become self-assured, and it didn't last. It didn't last. Because the same method, the same mental technique that gives you greater good is the same mental technique that you're going to need to keep it, you see. During the Depression years, a housewife daily gathered her children around the kitchen table because she knew this idea about speaking forth prosperous words. Her husband was out of work. He was not interested in these ideas, and so she said nothing to him about them. Every day while he was out looking for work, she would gather her children around the kitchen table. And for a few minutes they would declare this statement for this man. You have a wonderful job with a wonderful pay. You render a wonderful service in a wonderful way. It was a little prosperity jingle. And they declared this over and over, and it worked. At the height of the Depression, her husband came home one day and said that he had been offered a job in the bonding business if he could raise just $25. And so, at the height of the Depression, he went into the bonding business after they raided the Sugar Bowl and took $25. And that business grew until it is now worth $250,000. This lady said to me recently, that $25 became $250,000 when I continued to speak prosperity affirmations over the years. Furthermore, the children that helped her say those prosperity affirmations during the Depression are now, of course, all grown, and they're all very prosperous people, too. All right, be definite in your words about prosperity if you want prosperity to be definite about you. All right, let's declare it. My words are charged with prospering power. Together. My words are charged with prospering power. Now, friends, remember what we said last night. By using any of these ideas, by using prosperity statements, you are not trying to force the universe or anybody in it to give you anything. You are only trying to open your mind to receive the abundance that the universe has for you and that is yours by, as we say, divine right. You're only trying to open your mind to receive that which is yours, a realm of lavish abundance. There once was an engineer in England who had heard about these ideas and decided to investigate them so he could expose them as a hoax. He quickly discovered that they were no hoax. He became fascinated with the power of thought. He became so fascinated that later he left his engineering profession to become a success and prosperity teacher. Now, he made the change of professions so suddenly that when he decided to begin teaching these ideas, he actually had very little money at the time, but he was convinced of the power of the ideas. And so he decided to spend just 15 minutes a day for 1 year affirming prosperity, ease, money, comfort, and success for himself every day. Within a matter of weeks, he had demonstrated prosperity to the extent that he never had to worry about prosperity again. And so it's an interesting idea to work with. Now, friends, along with speaking forth definite prosperity decrees every day and doing it privately and doing it out loud, also it's good to write out prosperity statements every day. But along with your definite prosperity statements, another way to create your prosperity mentally first in words is this. Be careful of your casual words be careful of your casual conversation. Often the casual word of success, as expressed in general conversation, produces tremendous results quickly, whereas casual words of failure, of financial problems, of indebtedness, of financial limitation of any kind can scare away your good. It can dissipate the prosperity or the success you already have, and it can block any more from getting through to you. The people who prosper the most say the least, talk the least about financial matters. The people who make the least usually talk the most, you see. The people who make the least usually talk the most about it, and so they keep working hard because they never accumulate anything in or outer ways. Their talk, their conversation keeps dissipating their good. The people who make the least talk the most about it. The people who make the most talk the least about it. Now we can take a lesson from the truly wealthy people who say very little about their wealth. You know, there was an article not too long ago about all of the invisible millionaires in the Wall Street Journal. And it was talking about how many tremendously wealthy people there are in this country that we never hear anything about because they've learned this idea. The more prosperous they become, the quieter they become in order to maintain it, you see. All right, casual words can make you or break you financially. Idle conversation can deplete your good, dissipate it, and scare it away. I like the story that the man told me about the time after he began to use prosperity laws. And he invested $20,000 in the stock market. He felt guided to do it, and he had the money. And so he invested $20,000 in the stock market. Now, he immediately lost that $20,000 in the stock market, but he never said a word about it. He never even told his wife. Most of all, he never even told his wife. Now, he had learned this idea of keeping quiet about financial matters, and he kept saying, it'll come back to me multiplied. If I can just keep my peace and keep my cool, it will come back to me multiplied. He continued to use prosperity affirmations, and he very soon began to prosper. He made a fortune in the market in a very short length of time, so that his wife never knew he had lost the $20,000, you see. He kept just as quiet after he made his fortune as he had when he had lost the $20,000. Because this man realized that he must stabilize his words if he wanted to stabilize his financial affairs. He must be prosperous in his words if he wanted to have prosperity in his financial affairs. And so watch your words. Get very quiet about your financial affairs, because you can talk away your good. Because of the power of words, whatever a person voices, that he begins to attract to him. Whatever a person voices, he begins to attract to him.